Hello, my dear students. This is Avin Eric Kutina, lecturer in commerce, and I'm handling business studies for the second PU students. And today we are going to discuss about the fourth chapter in business studies, that is planning. So let me just start with the chapter. So as you all know, coming to the functions of management, we have 5 functions of the management, which is the first one is planning, which I've already written on the board. Then second one, we have organizing. Third, we have staffing. Fourth is directing. And the last one is controlling. Okay, now to bring to your notice, we will be discussing only the first aspect of management, that is planning. So let me begin. So as you all know, in your business studies, this is going to be a 4th chapter. And the first thing what we are going to discuss is, what is the meaning of planning? So as you all know, you must be wondering, what exactly is so special when it comes to planning? But when it comes to management, planning plays a major role. That is why it is the first function of management. So starting with the meaning, if you just go through the meaning of the word planning, planning is deciding in advance what to do, very important, what to do and how to do. So these are the 2 things which we normally think in our mind. What are we supposed to do and how are we supposed to do it? So it is one of the basic managerial functions. Planning therefore involves setting of objectives. My dear students, this is very important word when it comes to management, because let it be any function of the management, it should be concentrating or directing towards the objectives of the management and developing an appropriate course of action to achieve these objectives. So when I say the objective of any business, normally what can be the objective of any business? Every business concentrates on one particular aspect, that is profit. If any business is not going behind profit, then definitely there is no business which can survive for a long period of time. But other than profit, there can be much more objectives. Something like providing good quality products, because you cannot cheat on your customers. Providing customer satisfaction. So these are some of the objectives which normally are in the minds of any business. So now let's move on to how this particular function of management is going to help the business. So the first aspect which we'll be discussing when it comes to planning is how or why planning is important. So if you see the points, first point says planning provides directions. Now when I say directions, now if there is somebody who is going to help you out as to what are you supposed to do in the organization, what is the nature of your job, what exactly is your role in the organization, then definitely you will be one of the topmost employee in the organization. Now that is in terms of the employees. So especially planning is done by whom? Planning is normally done by the top level management. Always done by the top level management. And the top level management will implement their plan and ask all their subordinates to implement this plan. And now to implement this plan, we need directions from the management. And this directions normally goes to the employees. So that is why we can say planning is very important. So moving on to the second point, planning reduces risk of uncertainty. And it deals only with changes and uncertain events. Now what is the word uncertainty? We always say risk is uncertain. If you are able to calculate risk, what else do you want? Now here, as a business, calculating risk is not easy. But if you plan well in advance and you know that these are the problems which are going to come in the near future, definitely planning is going to help you. That is why it helps with dealing with changes. Now changes. When I say changes, environment keeps on changing. When I say environment, it can be political environment, it can be legal environment, technological environment. All this keeps on changing. But if you are ready with your plans, definitely it becomes easy for the management to tackle these problems. That is why the second point says it is important. Third one, reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Overlapping. Now, for example, if there is one person, that is me, and my subordinate, my friend working with me. Now, if we both are doing the same work, what is the point of doing the same work? It is like I should be given one project and my other friend should also be given a different project. If we both do the same work together, that means there is overlapping. Overlapping means one work is been repeated by the same person by doing the other work. And wasteful activities, which means if the planning is not appropriate, there won't be any coordination. To have a good coordination in the organization, planning is very important, because if your goals, rules, regulations are prescribed and described well in advance, you know your role in the organization and that is what you are supposed to do. So next one is, fourth one, promotes innovative ideas. As you know, management implements all. Which management? The top level management implements all their plans and asks the subordinates to work. Now, it will innovate. In what way it is innovating is, when a person like me, if I'm not having any idea what exactly am I supposed to do in this organization, I can say this plan which has been given well in advance, it will help me in my growth as well as the growth of the organization. And both, even I will prosper, even my organization will also prosper. So having innovative ideas, if the plan is done in an innovative way, which can generate you more income to the organization, definitely it is going to be useful. Moving on to the next point, it facilitates decision making. Now, decision making, when I say a plan, you cannot start your business with one plan. I don't think so there is any businessman who depends on only one plan and starts their business. The problem is, if your plan fails, what backup do you have? That means when you're going to plan something for you and for your organization, it is always you have to have multiple plans. Say for example, we have something called as plan A and there is something called as plan B. So when I say plan A, probably I'm going to start a new business and I'm going to introduce a bakery item. Maybe I'm into sweets. So what I do is I depend on plan A, which says that if I sell more sweets, I can generate more income. But later, practicality, I come to know that people here do not like more of sweets. So what I do is I have to switch from plan A and I have to switch to plan B, because my plan B may say it is not only sweets which I'm selling, I'm selling even the spicy products. Maybe something like you can say day-to-day products, grocery items. If I sell these kind of products, definitely my business can survive. That is why we should always look for alternatives. So planning is done in such a way which says that alternatives are available well in advance. If my one plan fails, I have to depend on the other plan. Last point, establishes standards for controlling. Now, if well-planned organization can control its employees properly. So when I say controlling is actually the last function of management. But one good thing you have to remember here is, planning and controlling is like husband and wife. They are having or going hand in hand together. If there is no planning, what are you going to control? If you want to control, what is a plan? That is why. Establishes standard for controlling. So planning is the base and controlling is the last function. That is why both controlling and planning is very important for the management. So moving forward, features of planning. So first point, planning focuses on achieving objectives. I told in the beginning itself, this word is where, or this is where every function of the management should be focusing on. So for example, when I say objectives, let it be planning, let it be organizing, let it be directing, let it be staffing, or let it be controlling. every function which has been done in the management should be towards the attainment of the objectives of the organization. So here, because of planning, we can organize. Because we have plan, we can direct. Because we have planning, we can control. And because we have planning, we can find out how many people are required in the organization. That is why planning is the primary function of management, and it plans on focusing on achieving objectives. Second point, it is a primary function of management. I told you all, already spoke to you all about this. It is the basis for other functions. I spoke only about controlling, telling planning and controlling is like husband and wife. But here, when I say the other aspects also, if there is no plan, there is no direction. If there is no plan, there is no controlling. If there is no plan, there is no organizing. That is why, again, it is a base for all the other functions. Third, it is pervasive. Some of you misspell it as persuasive. It is not persuasive. It is pervasive. Pervasive, it is applicable to all the levels of management. When I say management, please remember, students, we have normally 3 levels of management. One is always the top level. Then we have is the middle level. And the last one is the lower level. Now, this planning will be normally done by the top level, which will be asked by them to be followed up by the middle level, and the middle level will be following it up with the lower level. And all the levels of management planning will be executed, which means because of this planning, it is going to be pervasive, which means it will be applicable to all levels. Let it be subordinates, let it be employees, let it be executives, let it be managers. Everybody has to follow the plan which has been implemented by the management. That is why it is applicable to all levels of management. Next point, planning is continuous. It is a continuous process. Say for example, my plan today is to go from Mangalore to my house. So if I go to my house, my plan is executed. Now it is not the end. From there I need to go to some other place. That means I have to plan once again. So it is a never-ending process. Please make a note of this, students. When I say a continuous process, it is never-ending. Planning begins, it has to be followed up. Once the objectives are attained, we have a new plan coming up. Again, the same process keeps on repeating. It is repetitive in nature. That means planning is never-ending. It keeps on repeating. Once the plan is done, we need to plan once again. Next one. Planning is futuristic. Future. Definitely we don't know how to predict our future. But if your plan is appropriate and pinpoint, we can say you can have a nice future. So forward looking. So as a businessman, you cannot survive for a long period of time if you don't have a futuristic mindset. And to have a futuristic mindset, you should be a person who will think ahead when compared to others. And what is going to help you? Planning is the one which is going to help you to look forward in the future. If you know what is going to happen in the coming days, if you are able to predict what is going to happen in the coming days, definitely with the help of planning, all this, whatever you want to achieve can be achieved easily. So that is why planning is futuristic. Next one. Planning is involved. Okay, planning involves decision making. Now, when I say manager or an management, or you can say any level of manager, the main aspect of management is decision making. If you want to take a decision, it should be having full proof. That is why with the help of planning, because you have a foolproof plan, we can say decision taking at any level of the management becomes easy. And I told you all the decisions will come from the top management. So ultimate decision taker will be the top management. No matter what you decide, unless and until you get the approval from the top management, your ideas cannot be implemented. That is why if you are planning something, it has to come from the top management, which involves a decision making for them. Next one. Planning is a mental exercise. Definitely your thinking ability will improve when it comes to planning, because when you are well prepared, when you know what are you supposed to do, definitely you will be thinking wisely. So Things like logical and systematic thinking rather than guesswork. Please remember, our planning should be in such a way, it should not be guesswork. Just guessing that, okay, this may happen, probability that this or that may happen. No, you should be having a foolproof idea that what exactly you are going to decide. That is why it is a mental exercise, because your mind cannot take rest unless and until your plan is executed properly. So keeping these things in mind, we can say these are the various features of planning. So when I move forward to the next slide, the next thing is, what are some of the problems which we may be facing when it comes to planning? Limitations. As you all know, anything what you do is not free from drawbacks. Same way, when I say planning, if you have done a planning well in advance, it will be having some drawbacks. Let me come to the first one. Planning leads to rigidity. Rigidity means you have decided well in advance, this is what we are going to do for this particular problem. Let's assume that if there is a problem coming up in the Indian economy, say for example, inflation is a problem, and we say to solve this problem, this is the idea which we have. But the thing is, whatever you have planned, maybe 5 years back or 10 years back or maybe 1 year back, that may not be suitable for this particular problem, because problems does not repeat in the same way. In case if the problem repeats in the same way, you have a same solution. But if the problem or a new problem arises, you cannot stick on to the old solution of your plan and tell that this is the solution for the problem. The only problem here is there is no flexibility. Whatever you have planned well in advance, whatever your top level management has told, this is the solution for the problem, it may not be the solution always. You as an employee may be having a better solution for the problem, but again, we have to listen to the top management. We can only suggest the top management. But keeping this in mind, there is no rigidity, which means planning can be a failure at times because it is not flexible. Second one, reduces creativity. Whose creativity? We talk in terms of the employees. The creativity of the employees may reduce, because even though you have a good solution for the existing problem or the problem here is, the real problem here is, we have to listen to what our boss says. When the boss says this is a solution, this is the solution. That is where it becomes a problem or a limitation in terms of planning. Because you may be a creative person, you may be having unique ideas to solve these kind of problems, but only thing is your words will not be heard. That is why we can say it reduces the creativity of the employees, because we have to listen to only one, that is the top management and the orders provided by them. Third one, planning involves huge cost. Huge cost because you may decide, what, it is just words which we are discussing, how it becomes a huge cost. When I say planning, it is done by the top level management. When the top level management does the meeting, a huge cost will be involved, because most of the board of the directors have to come together, they have to sit together, they have to discuss together, and a lot of cost will be involved in terms of the meetings. So to avoid this, we can say, or keeping this in mind, we can say it involves a huge cost. And sometimes you can outsource the planning to somebody else. They may be ready-made plans which has been given by somebody else, for which we need to pay. For that, again, it involves a huge cost. Okay, planning does not work in dynamic environment. Now, when I say dynamic environment, please understand, students, environment is not going to remain stable. If I were to give an example of one silly thing, if I say political environment. Now, political environment says today the rate of GST for certain items, for example, medicines. Assume the rate of tax for GST on pharmaceutical goods is 18%. Suddenly the government feels like telling that from today onwards, the rate of tax has increased to 28%. Now what happens here is, market is volatile. It keeps on changing. Now your old traditional plans and solution for these kind of problems will not be applicable. So as you know, there are many more, we can say, environments. We have legal environment, or we can say something like technology. Technology also keeps on changing. If you depend on old traditional technology and think of the solution then, Please understand, students, technology keeps on changing every time. A new technology comes and the old technology becomes outdated. And just imagine, if a solution is based on the old technology, the problems may be based on the new technology. So you should be well prepared. And that is where we can say it will not survive, or planning will be useless when it comes to a dynamic environment. And the last one, does not guarantee success. There is no guarantee that whatever old plans you have in mind will be useful for the new problems. Problems are not going to repeat as they are. It will come in a different way. I don't think so same problem will repeat over and over again, because new problems always arises every time. So with your new problems, you cannot stick on to your old plans. So it's better always to have new plans and wait for the problems and have a solution for these kind of problems. So this is where it does not guarantee success. So this is where we can move forward now. So keeping in mind the limitations, the next topic is planning process. Now process, when I say process, it is a technique which is to be followed, or the roadmap which we need to follow when it comes to planning. So always your planning begins from the first process, that is setting of objectives. If you know what are the objectives of the organization, definitely you can plan according to it. So objectives may be set for the entire organization and each department or unit within the organization. As you know, every organization is divided into different departments. So every organization may be having something like we can say finance department, we have marketing department, we have HR department, productions department. Now every department will be having its own objective, but all the objectives what is there should be matching to the main objective of the organization, because we have different departments in the same organization and not different companies in the existing organization. So setting of objectives is very important. Let it be for each department, let it be for each unit, or let it be for the entire organization. Second one, once we develop the objectives, the next one is developing premises. So planning is concerned with the future. Remember, we plan always for the future, which is uncertain, and every planner is using conjecture about what might happen in the future. So conjecture means you are thinking what is going to happen in the near future. So you have to develop or think or assume that these are what the problems which is going to come in the near future. So it is concerned with future which is uncertain. As told, risk is uncertain. Same way, problems also are uncertain. And every planner is using, every plan which you use is actually going to be for a different particular purpose. So the next one is identifying alternatives. I gave the example of plan A and plan B. So you can't depend on only one plan to solve your problems. So here, identifying the alternative course of action. Once objectives are set, the first one, assumptions are made, the second point, then the next step would be to act upon them. That is, once you identify the problem, then you understand these are the things which are to keep in mind, then it is time to try to solve the problem. So going ahead, the next point is selecting the alternative. Like what we had here is, we just identified alternatives. Now from, for example, 5 alternatives, we may be selecting only one particular alternative, because we cannot select all the alternatives. So one alternative will be selected. This is the real point of decision making. The best plan has to be adopted and implemented. Out of all the alternatives that you have selected, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, in that you have to select the one which is best suited for the problem to be solved. So that becomes the next process, that is selecting of an alternative, and which is the real point of decision making. So you have to decide which is the plan which is going to be implemented in the organization. Next is implementation. Whatever plan you have selected now, it is time for us to implement this plan. So this is concerned with putting the plan into action. Like you see, whatever you have decided, you are going to plan it and put it into action. Okay, I'll be explaining this again with an example. Let me come back. Follow up and action. Once the plan is been put into use, this is where we need to follow up. We need to know whether whatever we have implemented, is it giving us good returns? Is it useful? Is it actually solving all the problems which we were looking for? So monitoring the plans are equally important to ensure that objectives are achieved. So whatever you have implemented, definitely it should give you good returns, good reply. If there is no good reply, that means somewhere we have gone wrong. Now if the same thing, if I give you an example, just assuming that we are planning to buy a cell phone. Everybody is happy when it comes to mobile phones, definitely, right? And I say my budget of the phone is, say for example, 15,000. This is the budget which I'm planning to buy a cell phone. So first plan is setting of objectives. What is my objective? To buy the phone. Second, developing premises, assuming, okay, these are the various options which are available with me. These are the various stores which are available with me. So this is where I'm developing my premises. Third is identifying alternative course of action. Now among the cell phones, what comes to your mind? Which are the various brands which are available for 15,000? Definitely you cannot go for an iPhone, that's for sure. Other than iPhone, you can think of some Android phones, something like Oppo, Vivo, or you can say Motorola, Redmi, Realme. There are many more phones. So you need to find out which is the best suitable phone which is going to come in that particular budget. Identifying the alternatives. So you come to know these are the 5 phones which are available in the market. Now you are selecting an alternative. Probably you will come to know that Samsung was the company which you are opting to select. So you are planning to buy Samsung phone which is coming for your budget, that is 15,000 rupees. So after doing a complete study, you are selecting Samsung as your phone to be selected. Now you have purchased that and you are using the phone. So that is implementation of the plan. I'm just giving an example. And last one is follow up. After using the phone, you are just trying to find out whether this phone has met your expectations. So that is where the follow will take place. So keeping in mind the example, I hope the process of planning has been understood. And the last topic for discussion under planning will be the various types of plans. You will be having no idea that whatever you're doing in your day-to-day life is actually a plan. Now if I have to tell you have to go home from, for example, you are there in your house and you are supposed to go to City Central Mall. Now what is the options available? What is your plan? You may call your friend, that is plan A. Plan B will be going with your family. Plan C will be you walking and going. Plan D will be you catching hold of a rick and going. There may be many more ideas which will run in your mind. That means every day, every person has some or the other plan in their mind. So let me try to make you understand what are the different types of plans which we normally face in our daily life. So coming to the first one is objectives. The first plan always will be in terms of setting of the objectives, which is the major plan. Objectives therefore can be said to be the desired future position that the management would like to reach. If I want to reach to a particular position, if I want my company to be the topmost company operating in India, then I have to plan well. So this is where the first thing, that is objective, also will be called as a plan. I have to plan when it comes to attaining the objectives of the management. Second one, strategy. Now the question arises, what is strategy? Because plan and strategy normally sounds the same. But plan is something you decide well in advance as to what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. But when I say strategy, it comes between the execution. If you have to get some changes in the existing plan, that is called as strategy. For example, you playing football match. When you're playing football match, your main plan is to win the match. So your coach will send you to play the match. Now, after the match starts, you come to know coach has only planned and told that the first we have to win this match. How to win the match? That is not been told. Now, strategy means if your coach has taught you how exactly you are supposed to play, to whom you are supposed to pass, who is going to play as the defender, who is going to play as the center midfielder, who is going to strike, all these things, if it is given well in advance, and if you pass the ball to the right person, that is called as strategy. If the ball is passed to the wrong person, definitely you will lose the match. That is where the plan will be ended. So here, strategy provides the broad contours of an organization's business. It will also refer to future decisions. So it is going along with planning. Strategy is something which has to join hands along with planning, and it has to be executed. Third one, policy. Policies are general statements that guide thinking or channelize, energize towards a particular direction. These are general statements. Every problem needs to have a solution. So policy means trying to get a solution for an existing problem. And to solve the problem, we need to plan. So these are the general statements that guide thinking. So when we have a meeting, normally people give their point of view. That is called as policies. Or channelize, energizes towards a particular direction. Direction is solving the problem. So when you try to solve the problem, we can say it has been implemented. Next one is procedure. Procedures are routine steps on how to carry out activities. Again, you may not be knowing that procedure also was a type of a plan. How are you supposed to do it? That is exactly a plan. Even though you may decide, for example, cricket match, who is going to open the match, who is going to come one down, who is going to come two down. This is where the procedure takes place. Procedures are the routine steps on how to carry out the activities. So any activity that you plan has to have a planning. Next one is rule. The next point, rules are specific statements that tell what is to be done. If you are a student studying in a college, definitely you will be having certain rules and regulations of the college. If you have not seen, please open a calendar, students, and see what are the rules and regulations which have been implemented by the college. And that exactly also is a plan which is implemented by the management. Why it has been implemented? So that you are in the right direction and do not lose track. So it are the specific statements that tell what is to be done in the organization, and for you, what is to be done in the college. Then program. The next point is program. Programs are detailed statements about a project which outlines the objectives, policies, procedures, rules, tasks, human and physical resources required, and the budget. And the budget to implement any course of action. So whatever has been planned, whatever you saw till now, all the points which you discussed just now, it is a combination of all, and that is called as program. The total combination of all the other plans which is going to be implemented, and there should be a budget. Budget means you should be knowing well in advance how much you are going to spend, and you shouldn't be knowing that in numerical terms. Just telling that estimation, I may spend around 1 lakh rupees. No, you should be giving the clear-cut amount. This is what is going to be the expenses. So all this will come under programs. And coming to the last topic, that is budget. A budget is a statement expected results expressed in numerical terms. Please understand, students, budget should always come in numbers. It is a plan which quantifies future facts and figures. Quantify means if you are able to express any problem in numbers, we can say 50% of your problem is solved and identified. It is actually solved, not only identified, because you know what exactly you are supposed to solve, and that is where your planning will come to end. So students, we come to the end. So before winding up, let us have a quick recap as to what exactly we had done in this class. So let me just come back. We exactly started with the meaning of planning. So please make a note what to do, how to do, and what are the objectives which you are supposed to keep in mind when it comes to planning. So after this, we discuss the importance of planning, and remember, every time planning is done by the top level management. Next is the features. What are the various features we understood? Then coming to the limitations, what are the problems if you have predetermined plans well in advance? And then we discussed the process of planning. What exactly is the process normally every person follows in the management when it comes to planning? There were 7 processes, if you can see that, 7 points. And the types of plans, which is objectives, strategies, policy, procedure, rule, programs, and the last one is budget. So students, so this is the end of the chapter planning. So thank you so much, and I'm very happy to see that. I hope everybody will be happy, and if you like my class, please get back to me, and thank you so much. Have a great day.